Yeah, welcome back to Wook Plus. I'm Weekend Wook, and I am alone tonight because the rest of the Wook Plus crew decided to go to Dick's without me, and I hope they had a blast. And man, did they get one hell of a show tonight, first night. Chad, I'm gonna be relying on you guys a lot tonight because a lot of times we do these recaps and it's live 15 minutes after encore, and I bounce things off of T or Kev or Lama and kind of work through it. There's not really a sounding board, so I'm gonna share my raw emotions and feelings of the show, my takes on it, and I want to hear what you guys think too, and we can kind of parse through it all together. I will say first big impressions though, I thought it was a great show overall. I think coming out of the gate with that Carini really set the stage well for the run. I think the middle of the first set got a little bit away from it, and that's fine. I mean, first sets are going to do that. But by Ruby Waves, it came back and found its home. And the second set, just holy shit. I think there was a lot of great things going on. There were rough moments too, though. I got to be honest. Like it's not all sugar, right? Yeah, man. Well, next time I need a co-host, Tevin, I'll hit you up and I'll be like, hey, come on in. No, it's cool though. I'm excited to I feel like, now it'll be able to connect with you guys and chat a little bit more and we'll see where it goes. I'm a little ADHD, so we might be all over the place. Also, I made this new format. I'm kind of like writing out the set list as the show is going on. So, hope you dig it. Um, all right, so this Carini to kick things off, Monster Jam, right into a deep jam. I thought that it was cool that they were taking a risk really early. Weird thing about it is it was super blissful, and like it would be fine if it was the only blissful Carini in the tour, but I feel like the last half a dozen Carinis have not gotten dark. And while I thought it was a really locked in, tight jam, there's a part of me that's kind of like, I don't know. I like my Carini's dark and a little bit evil, and this was like a feel good Carini. But that said, dedicating it to Frenchie right out of the gate, rest in peace. If you're not familiar, Frenchie is a naked guy who has passed, unfortunately. I thought that's kind of set the tone of it, um, of the night. Hey, Llama, glad you had a good show, man. Uh, it's great that you joined us. You should go out and grab a balloon and hang out with everybody on the lot. But yeah, no, it had a dope syncopated part in it. Really nice organ play by Paige, going back and forth a little bit with it, and a solid return to the top. Traded it a lot again tonight, bringing shit back to the top. Um, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I thought for Carini it did. Haley's though, man, it started off so tight and it was ripping, and I feel like it could have been fire, but then just ripcorded out of it, and they was just like, no, we're not doing this. We're going on a blaze on, and so I'm gonna ripcord my analysis on it because there really wasn't much there. Uh, Blaze on. What do you guys think about Blaze on? I'm kind of torn on this one. Let me know in the chat if you were digging it because I thought it was fun. And I like that he changed the words dancing here at Dick's. That was cool. But this is where I think it started to lose me a little bit. The set. I think, the expectations were set up so high with that Carini that, yeah, it was kind of meh, right? It was like a little bit mid. I don't know. Like, I think there was a dip in the set and I kept waiting for it to get pulled back up. Right, exactly, Jay. I think the longer Haley's would have served. And I don't want to be a size queen and be like, oh, every jam needs to be a monster, every song needs to be long. But if you're gonna come out with a 19-minute Carini for the run opener on Thursday night, I mean, why not keep that going? Why give us a 5-minute Haley's and then a mid blaze on? But I mean, it was serviceable. It was fine. I think if you were there, you were probably having a good time. You were dancing, you're sparking, hanging out with your friends. I'm sure it was a grand old time for everybody. Oh, on a side note, I don't like talking shit about people because you could talk shit about me doing this and our commentary. But if any of you listen to the Sirius XM, uh, the webcast or the stream, man, Ari is tough. His commentary is tough to listen to. It felt like they were like like a bad Kevin Smith movie, like pretending to be in the mall in the 90s, like pretending to be like a stoner and listening to like jam bands. I don't know. It was just my whole take on their commentary at set break and before the show was a little bit cringy. Yeah, it was brutal. I was like, come on, man. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I thought it was just me, but they cut in late and they mixed it into the like weird intro that they have. So I was like, still, I thought it was just like a generic Carini that they mix in their intro, and I was waiting for the shows to start, and then it took me to the end of the course to realize that that was actually the start of the show. It's like I mean, I appreciate the free, the free stream, like that's cool. I mean, that is dope that they're giving. I mean, free if you have Sirius, but like, I don't know, brutal, brutal. All right. Anyway, I digress. Prince Caspian. I thought is touch and go there for a minute, but they brought back in the theme. It was almost like they were trying to go a little bit type 2 with it and space it out, but then they brought the theme back in and we're in this 1.5 type where it was kind of type 2, kind of type 1, and it opened it up a little bit. And it got it into that spacier bliss section towards the end of it, which I think saved it. Again, kind of mid, if I'm being honest. I think the whole middle of this set was, I don't know. I don't want to be too negative. I don't want to dwell on the negative, but it was okay. We have come to outlive our brain. Is fun, right? Is fun as all hell. Really, you thought PHiSH was off tonight? I thought there were a couple times tonight that I thought his playing really held things together, but it wasn't consistent. I'll as we get through the songs, I have a couple notes where I thought he was just on point. Like what is it? Beneath the Sea of Stars, his comping during that was just unbelievable. And it's really hard, I think, for him to play like that in like that big of a venue because you lose a lot of the subtlety. And his touch was right on. And there were a lot of like these big open tom jams, like those timber type jams that really opened up the jams. But I guess, in this middle of this set where it was just like standard run of the mill serviceable jams, I guess, you could put it on PHiSH. I don't know. I feel like you put it on any of them, really. It was kind of just across the board. Uh, but then, all right. So then we have come to live our brain. I don't think there was much there, right? Except that it's just a fun song, and it's nice that they keep it in rotation. I like to see that these Cosbot songs aren't falling out, because with Sci-Fi Soldiers and all the new debuts this year and stuff, there's always that chance that some of these other songs, these like little deeper in the catalog songs could get dropped. And I like getting glue in your I think glue in your magnet is one of the best lines the band's ever written. And I'm not the lyric guy. I mean, Kev's the one that obsesses over lyrics, but I just fucking love that lyric and the 9 cubes and everything. I thought it was great. Mercury, here, you guys ready for my standard Mercury bitching? If I have to sit through that brutally long mid meh intro to Mercury, and this is just my opinion. If you love Mercury, please. I mean, it's great. I'm not trying to talk you off of it, but like it's a slog to get through, right? You're giving up 7-8 minutes every time they play Mercury without any idea of where it's going to go. If they go and then do something phenomenal out of it and it's like a really fun jam, all right, it was worth it. But this one, by the time they got out of the main like structure of the song, they were getting out of the jam, and you're like, he ripcorded it. I was like, God damn, why do you even do it? Like, why do you make us sit through a 7-minute intro to Mercury for a 2-minute jam that you could have added onto We Have Come to Outlive Our Brains? It would have been much more fulfilling. I don't know. But luckily, I think this is where it all kind of clicked in. After that ripcord, we got into really nice Ruby waves. I think Ruby is one of those jam vehicles that has just become like comfortable for them. And when Trey feels like things aren't locking in, he knows he can go to this one, and it'll kind of recalibrate the band. It'll bring everybody on the same page. It'll allow them to explore in a safer environment. It was neat too. I always think of it. I liken it back to the Bakers whale sounds. I mean, I know he's been doing the whale calls forever, but there was a very specific tone that he did during the Bakers of these like whale siren calls, and I hadn't heard him in a while this tour, but in this Ruby's Jam, Trey kind of opened it up and brought that back, and then they got into this cool delay jam. It got a little weird, which was awesome. I like when it gets a little bit weird. I think they haven't gotten weird enough, to be honest, lately. I think they've been playing it a little bit safer, but I thought this jam was really good. I like this one a lot. This was, by the way, one of the ones I thought PHiSH was on point with that really open, Tom Kit groove. So like, I don't know if other people think of it this way, but like when you play a hi-hat groove and it's really like, crunched hi-hat and your arms are crossed, it's like tight, it's close. And when you're open, either riding or playing on the toms like he does, and you see his arms going, it just opens it up. And I feel like even though it's like a very physical thing, like he's actually uh open, I feel like that also opens the jam and it gives like a breath to the whole jam that we had in this Ruby Waves. But I gotta say, the return, this was one of those times where it was a little suspect returning to the top. Don't know that it worked there. Not nearly as well, I think, as it worked in Carini. And then Zero. I mean, listen, you get character Zero. I know people are tired of it. Some people, jaded vets are good, but like it's a rocker. I feel like it's a fun way to end a set. It's standard. You're gonna get what you're gonna get. And if you're feeling it and you're vibing, then you're gonna love it. I think it was they were locked in. I think they had a good. And this sounds stupid because, like, of course, like they're locked in, but like sometimes it feels like to me they're mailing in the rockers, right? Like they're just playing because they know it's like a rocker. Um, but this one, I feel like they weren't just playing, like they were feeling it. Yeah, Johns. So when we talk about rip chords out of a jam, it's usually you can like feel it in like in the middle of a phrase or a thought of the jam. So like maybe like Paige and Mike, it's usually Trey that's rip chording. So like maybe Paige and Mike are just starting to like stretch things out, and you could feel PHiSH maybe starting to switch up his groove. And normally like 9 out of 10 times, that's when you'd be like, oh, they're about to go into a jam. And then all of a sudden, Trey will play the beginning of like Numberline or the beginning of Light or like the beginning of Ruby Waves. And you could feel the rest of the band. It's like a jerking motion. Like they weren't expecting it. They were starting to open it up, but it's like literally like pulling a ripcord and that like, like from like a parachute, and you get that like jerky and you get pulled out of it suddenly. I think I will say though, like online and stuff, people use ripcord too much. That's like a term that's like anytime there's a short jam, they're like, oh, they ripcorded it. I don't think that's the case. I think sometimes you get a short jam, and it's just, or not even a jam, you just get a short version of a song, which is fine, right? They don't feel like jamming it out. But then other times it actually feels like it's going somewhere, and then they ripcord it. So I think, but I feel like the Mercury, it felt like the rest of the band wanted to explore it, and Trey was just not having it. But you know what? Who knows? Maybe if they do, I always think of that with like the ripcords. It's like we bitch about it, but maybe if they do explore those jams and they're not locked in, or it's like Trey's not feeling it, maybe they would just be a train wreck, right? Like maybe you need those ripcords to salvage the rest of the set. Because, like I said, the Ruby Waves ended up saving the night. I felt like I think the Carini started off a high level, it kind of dipped, and then he ripcorded it. We were all like, "Oh, what the fuck?" But then the Ruby Waves was great and brought it back in. So, maybe we should just trust the guy, trust the master, the Jedi. Anyway, so that brings us to the set break. Some housekeeping. We'll be here 15 minutes after encore for each night of Dick's. Tomorrow night, I got Hey Scotty B, Scott Bernstein, chief editor from Jambase. Very wise, very smart in PHiSH lore and PHiSH terms, and I'm very excited to have him in here with me. Then Saturday, I'll have Skinny on from Stub Me Down. So if you watch the show, he's been on recently. He's awesome. Very, very much looking forward to talking to him. That'll be night 3. And then Sunday night, we're going to have Brian and Abby, who don't have a podcast or any credit to their name in the scene. They're just friends of mine. And if you've been with the channel for a long time, we used to have them on a lot. They're just cool people, and like PHiSH. So I'm excited that they're gonna come hang out with me and talk about it. And then when all the rest of the Wooks get back from Denver, we'll have a longer form recap of the whole run, probably next Wednesday in the place of Live. So anyway, like and subscribe, and let's go into this second set. So Set Your Soul Free. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite song, but I felt like it sounded good. They sounded loose. They were locked in. The only problem was I felt like this was one that was over before it started. I feel like this was the whole YouTube sample, right? Like the two spot always gets the good shit because you got to pay for it. In YouTube they give you just a little bit, and I mean, if you blinked, you missed it. It was gone. But to go into the Tweezer, fine, right? Like I don't need them to spend 20 minutes on Set Your Soul Free if I'm gonna get a 20+ minute Tweezer that really had a lot of interesting things in it. So chat, let me know what you think this Tweezer compares to the Tweezers of this summer. So the Alpharetta Tweezer, you got the Syracuse Tweezer, you got the MSG Tweezer, and now you got the Dix Tweezer. So those are the four I can think of. How you would think this one compares? I think it's probably, and it's weird like ranking jams against each other, but I like it because it gives me like a perspective of things. And right coming out of tonight, I think this is a really great, solid Tweezer. I think it's probably above the Alpharetta one, but I think it's probably a little bit under the Syracuse, in my opinion. Maybe tied with MSG. It's cool though. It starts with the really big open shuffle on the snare with Fishman, a nice up tempo bliss jam. Oh, Kevin, you think the Alpharetta Tweezer was the best? See, that's interesting. I don't know that I would agree, but I don't know how vehemently I would argue with you on that either. They were all good. I think Tweezer is a solid. I mean, it always is, but I think it was particularly good this tour. But the Q's one is my top. I think that was the Tweezer and the Oblivion from Syracuse was just really good. But it goes one of two ways. You get like the dark spacey weird, we're getting weird, or you have this like up tempo bliss usually, and this was one of those up tempo bliss. But I liked it. I felt like it kept the energy up. The band was super tight. I felt like this was another point where PHiSH was locked in. Paige was laying out those synth beds, which really, did a lot to help secure the jam. They had that earworm riff. Trey was playing, and he's so good at just like on the spot playing these riffs that make you feel like it's a tease, or like, oh, what is that melody? I know that fucking melody, and then like you realize that it's nothing. He's just improvising, but he's so good at it, like just coming up with melodies on the spot. Yeah, Johns, I think so. I don't think it is well known, but I've seen some interviews from Trey in the last several years where he talks about it, and I think his process on the tour is like he won't write out a set list, but he will make a catalog, like a mini catalog or a grouping of songs that they all will refresh on and learn for either a run or a tour. So like they say they have like 600 songs. I don't know the exact numbers, but say they have like 600 songs in the overall catalog. They might limit it down to like 200 or 250, right? And then they'll talk about it, and they'll get it kind of in their fingers, and then they'll refine it down. And then he talks about learning and forgetting the list. So like he'll write out, get a general idea of what they want to play in a night or a run, but then he'll forget it on purpose to allow himself to have that organic, spontaneity of the show. There is, of course, and they've talked about it. Mike talked about it on an interview recently, and Paige has talked about it, where like they are in touch with like the fan base through like, Trey's daughter, or sometimes through Tom, or sometimes they check in. So like there was that Yem hasn't been played in 20 years thing that went viral, viral within the community, or different things. like what's her name, the little girl that requested Bug, and like, so there are times where like there's specific special songs that get requested and put in, or like tonight I felt like Carini was on purpose for Frenchie, obviously, and then I felt like Show of Life was a nod to James. So I think there are times where like it's decided and discussed ahead of time, but I think for the most part they try to keep it spontaneous. He also has that mic, the pedal mic. Yeah, Jovi. Thanks, Noogie. He also has the in ears, like they use the in ear monitors, and they all have the mics so they can like talk to each other. So Trey is usually the one calling the shots. He'll like come over and be like, you could see him go over and say a song, and it's really funny because like usually he looks at PHiSH. I don't know if that's because like they have to lock in first, or because if he's looking for his like approval, but like every once in a while you'll see like PHiSH be like, no, and I don't know if he gets overruled or not, or if they go with it either way, but it is funny to like when you catch those like things where they're not on the same page. Most of the time they're on the same page. But yeah, anyway, this Tweezer jam, I thought was after that riff part, I really, really, really liked the big tom groove and everybody floating over what PHiSH was doing there. He just had this really driving groove, and everybody was floating there, and the return to the top was nice. I just felt like everything worked really well. The highlight of the jam, though, was the bleeps and bloops. And this is, I think, the biggest tragedy of this tour, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is I absolutely love the bleeps and bloops. And in 21, it was everywhere. I mean, you couldn't get through a night without having the whole pinball machine, bleepity bloopity, crazy shit going on, right? Or like hooked up to a machine like what was that Catapult was last year or the year before, Dicks, where it just like really pulls you out of it and gets weird and bloops. And I feel like I wanted more of it, and I've all tour like why have they abandoned that? It was such a cool sound that they've done. But I was glad to hear a more traditional. I mean, it's only a couple years old, but I'm glad that they brought it back. I think it is just the Plinko, right? The arcade sounds. I think it is just the coolest thing ever. I'm not annoyed by it at all. I think that's one of those things they added, and instantly I was like, "Yep, I'm here for this. I am here for this." It was nice to have that back. So Beneath a Sea of Stars, I'm curious, Chad, if you guys want to maybe give me a 1 through 5 on how you feel about this song in general, because this is one that I can't read people. I see a lot of people bitch about it, right? Like it comes on and like the moaning and groaning and oh, it's a piss song. And then I see a lot of people just raving about it and how it's like one of the most beautiful new songs there is. So like put a 1 if you think it's like a shitty piss song, or a 5 if it's your favorite song, or in between in the chat. Cause I need, this is where I need your help. Kind of like, I mean, I have my notes written down, so it's not going to change how I feel about it, but I'm curious where you guys are on this song. There's a delay too, so I just can vamp for a minute while you guys put it in there. All right. Well, while you're gonna give it to me, I will let you know that I am now at like a 4 on it, and I was recently pretty low on it, but the last couple times, and in particular tonight, it was just really beautiful. I mean, it was the drumming. I mean, listen, I a lot of my perspective of the songs comes from like the groove and the drumming, but like the comping that PHiSH was doing, the delicateness of the piano, the flowiness of it, it moved. Like I'm sitting here listening, I'm not even there present, and I'm starting to get goosebumps. I could feel the song kind of like moving me and like moving through it, and it has such fluidity to it. And I think if you go into it with an open mind and like open eyes and ears, and don't have like any preconceived notion of it, or like the rhetoric of it, at least for me, I'm just telling you how it is for me, because like I wasn't a huge fan of it at first, and like I always went into it like, oh, and so it's hard to like have it affect me. So tonight was like the first time that I listened to it without that scoffing and that like righteous PHiSH fan bullshit, and I just listened to it, and I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And I think out of the Tweezer jam was a perfect spot for it. So yeah, I don't know, maybe a 3. Right, McGruff? I'm not, how complicated can I make a simple rating of a song? Maybe a 4 though. I like it. I like it a lot. And speaking of liking a lot, I really like Oblivion. I like, not even like forgetting about like jams or being a jam vehicle or anything, just like the way it's written and composed, and how tight it is right out of the gate. It's a cool song, right? Like that's it. It's a cool song that I could hear that on the radio. I feel like, I mean, I don't listen to the radio, but if I did, I feel like this would be a song that I could hear there and I would enjoy it. Um, and they've had some really good versions of it so far. Tonight, I don't think was really one of the best versions. I mean, it was pretty safe. They stayed in a type 1. I don't even know if you call it a jam. It was kind of more like a solo. Uh, and it got ripcorded again. A very rough segue into light. This was probably the low point of the night. If you listen to that segue into light, it was just like, Jesus, man, give up. Like, just stop playing and start over again. Yeah, no, you're right, Michael. The Syracuse Oblivion out of Tweezer, that's probably that's the standard right now until there's another one, a better one. But you know what? Even though it was a rough segue out and not the best version, I'm still very high on this song. I don't think it lost anything from me tonight, right? Like I think that I'm very high on this song, and I think they should give it a little bit more, though. Um, so Light was off to a rough start, but luckily I think they eventually got it uh brought back together, and by the time they got into the jam, it got into that really intricate jamming. There's a lot of interplay, a lot of back and forth. This is some of the, I think, the jamming that, like, if you're not really wholly focused on you can like lose the beauty of it and the intricacies of it. Because like I feel like there was a lot of subtlety and things they were doing that make it really good and complicated, but there was not like anything that like smacked you in the face, like, oh, jam is fucking amazing, right? Like melt your face. But like if you're like locked in and listening to it, there's a lot of cool shit going on. And it's fun. And if you're there, the lights and light are always fun, right? CK5 kills it on there. Um, so I think, I feel like that was an okay recovery, right? Shitty segue, nice recovery. Overall, kept the set, I think, on the better half, on the upper half of things. And then Slave, I mean, I don't know. It's impossible for me to say if it was good or bad because like they're all good to me. Like there was no big flubs, no misses. It's just an epic way to climax a set. It's probably one of my favorite. Probably Antelope and Slave are the two best ways to end a show, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe Hood. That's a tough one. But it's up there. I mean, there's a reason they played it like 300 times or whatever. Um, but yeah, second set was solid. I think it was solid. I don't think this is gonna be. Yeah, I know. I think Hood too, McGrupp. As I was saying that, I was like, oh man. I don't think tonight is going to be the best night of the run. I don't even know if it's gonna be the second best, but I think it is a very solid first